Welcome to another episode of Home Sweet Home. My name is Rod McCall.
And I'm Scott Nichols.
Happy 2025.
Oh, my goodness.
How was your New Year's?
It was great. Yeah. Hanging out in Florida.
Did you stay up till midnight or later?
Oh, yeah, I always do.
I'm finding that harder to do.
I mean, it may be hard, but yeah, I always do. You gotta be there for that, those first few seconds of the new year.
Do you?
I don't know. That's my tradition.
Okay. Fair enough.
My wife and I always do that,
I know.
Got to give that New Year's Day kiss.
Okay. Fair enough.
And then go to bed.
Well, I know when I was younger growing up, my mom and dad would either host or go bring us kids to New Year's Eve parties. And so that was fun. And then, of course, being a teenager and through college years, I always went to the big parties or had big parties. And
sure.
Going through the divorce group, we always would celebrate New Year's as a group, and there was always shooting off fireworks and stuff like that. But I would have to say, I don't think Sherry and I I don't think we've rang in the new year very often over the last probably 5 or 6 years.
Sure.
Mostly because, with her mom living with us, we can't really go very far. So,
right.
But anyway, well, I'm glad you got to celebrate and
How about
have a good
you?
time.
Did you have a good one?
Well, it was. Slept right through it. We usually, we'll watch some movies. We'll always get snack foods and stuff like that. So that's kind of what we did again this year.
Yeah.
So sometimes we'll try and use a fire pit. Sometimes Sherry goes, or the weather doesn't cooperate. But this year, nope, just...
Sure.
I think I slept it in. But the nice thing about this is that if you can stay awake at least till 11 o'clock, you can see the ball drop in New York City.
Yeah.
And then
that's the great thing about Central Time. Right?
Yeah. So therefore, yay.
I was in Florida, so I'd have to,
No.
I'd have to wait all the way until the end.
Yeah.
Because I was in Central Florida. But,
well,
yeah.
I'm glad. It's always fun.
I always take a nap that day. That way I can stay up.
Yeah. Fair enough.
It is tougher when you get older, right?
Okay, now comes the biggest question that everybody always asks.
Yeah.
Did you make a resolution?
Never.
Never?
No.
Meaning you never have, or you just never do anymore?
I just don't.
Okay.
I've never really done resolutions. I suppose I have before, but I break them within hours.
Okay, so
I'm really bad at resolutions.
Okay, so in other words, eating healthier is a resolution. Last until the junk food pops open.
Yeah.
Okay, or the idea of eating more vegetables and fruits lasts so long as you can have them like fried pickles or something like that.
I just don't eat them.
Okay.
I don't know. For some reason, resolutions just don't stick with me.
Okay. Well, because, I thought it would be kind of fun.
I mean, the common ones, right?
Right.
Are the things that really don't work for me, at least. I mean, and that sounds odd because when we talk about some of these, I did them last year.
Okay, fair enough.
But I didn't think of it as a resolution.
Well, okay, fair. I get that. But I thought it may be kind of fun since it is the first of the year. And oh, by the way, welcome to season 5 of Home Sweet Home. I don't think I made that very clear in episode 1 of season 5. So super excited about that. But I thought that, again, everybody likes to talk about resolutions, New Year's. And so I thought, well, I'm with you. I stopped making them because they never lasted for me. And so I thought it would be kind of interesting maybe to explore why people feel the need.
Yeah.
And so I did a little investigation, and one of it comes down to, there's a medical doctor, a guy by the name of Dennis Budimer.
Okay.
And he works at a place called the Thomas F. Chapman Family Center or Family Cancer Wellness Center. And anyway, he talks about that. The great thing about New Year's is that it offers a blank slate.
Yeah.
An opportunity to recenter and start again to maybe even get things right. And so as a second chance to try again, it's why a lot of us go, okay, I failed last year. It didn't last very long, but dad blame it. I'm going to try again.
Yeah.
I guess kind of like in the Monopoly game, you go around go. And all right, this time I'm not going to land on, all the properties with hotels. And so it's kind of, but he said that the idea of resolutions is a very important concept of our own self-efficacy.
Okay.
Which basically means that we have a virtue, a desire to set a goal and try and keep it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess
okay.
I don't want to argue with him. I just said when I set goals, and if I think of it as a resolution, it's probably not going to work for me.
Okay, fair point. We could call it, whatever you want, but one of the things that he argues, and I think this is maybe why it feels popular to do, is that when we set these goals or resolutions or whatever you want to call them,
yeah,
we're taking control of our life.
Yeah.
Because it feels like so many times we have little control over our lives, that so many things happen to us. And so the idea that, well, dad blame it, I'm going to take control, I'm going to assert a little bit of authority over my own life, and boom, there we go. I have set a new goal. And these goals, common ones, losing weight, which you and I have been working on.
Yeah.
Exercising more, which you and I have been working on. these are common. Other ones, sleep more, stop smoking, stop drinking. Other ones, and I tease you, but it is actually a common one of eating better, like eating more fruits and vegetables. Sure. Of course, here in Texas, as long as it's fried, we'll eat it. But the idea of, again, these little things can give us a sense of control. And
I think that's true, right? And again, like you were saying, like I've done weight loss. Mm-hmm. In 2024, I lost a lot of weight.
Yes.
And so if that was a resolution, I guess that would have been successful.
Sure.
I don't feel like it was a resolution. I feel like it was a stepped process. It involved several other things of choices that I made. But I never really set like the goal. Now my wife is great with this, right? She will review her previous year. She journals. She does all the things. And it's fabulous. And in some ways, I wish that I could do that. And in other ways, I feel like I don't want to spend all the time doing that. So I just, I tend to focus on a few things, definitely that I want to change. And they kind of carry over year to year, right? Like I'm still into the weight loss thing. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be any kind of a new resolution for me. I'm focusing on things that are going to make me better. But, last year I read a lot of books.
Yeah.
That I've never read that many books in my life, in a given year before. And it didn't start out that way. Mm-hmm. Like in the first 4 months of 2024, I only read 4 books.
Okay.
By the time I get to the end of the year, it's closer to 40.
But
I think what changed was my using an app where I had a challenge that I accepted, right?
Okay.
That other people could see. And so I wasn't going to let myself not read the books and have my challenge go completed.
Well, and I think,
or even tried.
Sure. And I think that's kind of the point. You can call it whatever you want.
Yeah.
And you had set a goal, and that's kind of the whole point. You made a conscious effort to take control of a certain part of your life.
Right.
Things that you could absolutely control. And maybe it started before New Year's, right. But at some point you took a stand saying, you know what? I don't like what I'm seeing in myself, and there is something I can specifically do to make a change.
Sure.
And I think that's kind of what when so many people are thinking of the new year, it's a new slate. We're starting all over. It's a reset, and here we go. And
Right.
one of the things that you brought up, you said, well, reading the app or using the app was a way that other people could see you. Well, one of the things that makes a successful resolution, goal, or whatever you want to call it, is the idea that you have help from others. Now, maybe in this particular case, they are a bit of a quality control. They're an accountability partner. And so even if they're not actively saying, go, 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 Scott, read that more, read those books, lose that weight, they are still there. And that helps serve as a reminder to us we can do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the accountability is important, right?
Mm-hmm.
And with the book thing, it's not like anybody was challenging me on it or doing any of those things. It's just that it was visible.
Yeah.
The fact that it's visible to other people made me more interested in achieving it.
Mm-hmm.
And the closer you get to it, of course, the more attainable it seems. And when I was getting close to the number that I wanted to read, which was 24 for the year,
Mm-hmm.
Which happened in like October,
Yeah.
or September, October of 2024. That was, I was like, I'm pushing to it. I'm going to make it happen, and it's going to happen early, and I'm going to exceed. Right. I mean, same thing with weight. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I was sharing it with people, and that provided the accountability for me. Nobody was, necessarily saying anything back.
Sure.
But the fact that I was putting it out there in public
Mm-hmm.
Meant something to me to make sure that I was going to follow through with it, so I didn't look like an idiot.
Well, yeah, and
for
that's
me, right?
That's kind of the point, because when we can do these things, it provides that dopamine trigger in our brains that provides us that pleasure response.
Sure.
And that by achieving little pieces of our goal, then that improves that dopamine release, which is why they say most people tend to drop off, is because that dopamine release isn't happening, because they're not meeting those goals, that they don't have a structure in place to help keep us kind of motivated to go ahead and achieve the goal. And
I have zero data on this. I just feel like resolutions are things that people say on New Year's Eve, or New Year's Day.
Yeah.
And ultimately it doesn't actually mean anything. Like you haven't really reflected on what it is that you want to change in your life or make positive. And sometimes those resolutions are in some kind of a negative connotation, like I'm going to stop doing this, or I'm going to stop doing that, instead of I'm going to do this to replace that, right? So
sure.
When I'm saying I'm going to read books, that actually replaced television or, watching videos or scrolling on social media. But I didn't say to myself, I'm going to stop scrolling on social media. I had to actually replace it with something.
And that's the thing. And, what's interesting is that most of us fail. All right. Most of us fail. There's a Pew Research study out there that says predominantly young people make these resolutions.
Yeah.
In fact, 50% of the people that make them are under the age of 30.
Yeah.
By the time you get to our age, it's maybe about 25%. People.
It's a lot harder to change when you get older.
Well,
right?
Exactly. And so you're right. When you're going to make a change, a resolution, like you're saying, to stop one thing, you've got to fill that void, to replace it with something to make that success more plausible.
And I think for me, like, it's not necessarily about how much weight I'm losing. It's about being healthier.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be healthier. And that, to me, that looks like I'm going to eat better, right? I'm going to eat better stuff. I started cooking more.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to, exercise. So I'm not going to make this, commitment to go to the gym 6 times a week or something, because nobody's going to do that, right? Gyms make all their money on the people who don't show up, but keep paying.
Yeah.
So
I was one of them.
It's, you've got to have some kind of a positive connection to it. I'm going to read more books.
Mm-hmm.
That replaced my time doing those other things. I mean, you only have so much time in the day, so
Right.
that's the economy, right? So
Yes.
you've got to make a choice, and choosing some of certain things that are more positive for your life will automatically displace some of those negative things.
Well, and one of the things that you mentioned about being healthier, that's actually one of the top things that people make a conscious effort to try and do.
Yeah.
And it is,
Or at least say so.
well, yeah, and I mean, because it is a goal. I mean, nobody says, "Man, I want to be a slob and be fat and eat unhealthily," but at the same time, it is super hard to do because it is. I mean, our lifestyle. I mean, we're just a go culture and
Sure.
society, and to be able to slow down, to eat healthy, requires us to focus more, to basically plan that out, to invest time, effort, and energy. And it's a lot harder to do because you've got to go to the store. You've got to make sure that you are buying the right kinds of, grocery items. And so now you got to plan. And
for me, that took up some replacement time too. I mean, I scroll now to find recipes.
yes.
And once I found my recipes, then I buy some ingredients, and
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten myself so many spices. My wife probably thinks I'm crazy. Because I love flavor.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
so
me too.
I find recipes that have flavor in them, and that requires me to buy spices. I mean, I even went to ethnic stores, right?
Mm-hmm.
In our area to try to find certain ingredients that you can't get anywhere else. In fact, some of it I had to buy on Amazon.
Oh, really?
So it's just, because I wanted to actually follow the recipe. And that I found that has been a joy of mine too, right? Like, so I don't watch as much TV because I'm making a meal, or I'm pre-preparing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm marinating something, or I'm cutting some things up and just storing them in the fridge until that night when I can come back and just throw it together real quick.
Gotcha.
And that's been kind of a joy, right? To be able to eat something that's flavorful, really good, healthy, not just stuffed into a microwave, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love, and I use it all the time, right? I love the air fryer.
Oh, yeah.
I use it in a lot of mornings now when I want to have breakfast, and I cook my bacon in it.
Well, we got that coworker
And bacon deserves to be with everything. Right?
Oh, well,
So,
we got that coworker that he brings his homemade breakfast burritos and uses his air fryer in the classroom.
So, I mean, it's just I think that the time that I've spent doing some of these things, reading and recipes and such, and even getting some exercise, has been some of the best things for me over the last year. And I'm going to continue those this year. I don't know that I would call it resolutions because it's certainly a continuation. But I'll find new things, I think, along the way,
And that's
as well. Like I don't necessarily feel that for me that particular date is a time. I think it's a good time to reflect and do those things. And maybe it's because we work on a school year.
True.
So my time is really the summer. It's like, okay, so what am I going to change now?
Well, and part of what you're saying too is part of what makes a resolution be successful. You've got a structure that is in place. You've had some success, and success breeds more success, willingness to risk, to try to make these changes. Because what's really sad is that 80% of people who make a New Year's resolution usually have them fail, well, by the time we get to the month of February.
Yeah.
In fact, 8% studies
that
have
was
shown.
me, in the past.
Well, and
Certainly
that's,
under 30.
Well, exactly, and that's why I stopped doing them. But 8% of Americans who say they make a New Year's resolution are successful in keeping it all year round.
Wow.
And part of the reason why they fail is because you're right. We don't have a structure.
Yeah.
Another reason why they don't succeed is because we are too ambitious. We set a too high of a lofty goal.
Sure.
Or even worse, and this is where I have failed many times, I hit the ground running too hard.
Yeah.
And I cannot keep up that pace. And then, of course, when you start failing in that, well, now that self-criticism comes in, that self-doubt comes in. And next thing you know, you're going, fine, never mind. It was, what was I thinking? I am a failure. And ta-da, we've quit.
Yeah.
And now this goal, this desire that we have, it's still there, but now we are going, well, I guess I'm just not that kind of person. I can't do it.
Yeah.
And so we fail. And that criticism, that self-criticism that we have, and I got to tell you, in my head, it can get really, really loud. And that self-doubt leads into that as well. And the voice that says, you can do it, that little engine that could, collapses. And you're going, well, you know what? That's why I stopped making resolutions in the first place, because I never can succeed.
See, I don't think of myself as a goal setting person, but if I really reflect on it, I can see. So for about 4 years, I have worked on 3 main goals, right?
Okay.
Like overall goals for life. And so, and it's all been, they all center around health. I was looking at financial health, spiritual health, and physical health.
Okay.
And so I've kind of organized everything in my life around that. It's part of why I came to Texas.
Okay, sure.
And so, I kind of evaluate in my own head, is this thing kind of working me towards one of those goals? And I think that most people who consider resolutions, it's just kind of random.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's why it doesn't work.
Well,
it doesn't fit into an overall life goal or anything like that. And so maybe it's just more random, and the randomness of it allows it to kind of fall away. And
part of that is why some succeed and some fail. I think that when you have, we all have that strong desire. We all want to, but change requires work. And if we think that it will be easy, then we're going to fail.
Sure.
Part of the reason why, it can go both. This can cut both ways. What makes a resolution or a goal successful is anticipating and expecting obstacles and expecting setbacks. And when we can go, okay, we have a setback. It's a setback. It's not a failure. And when you can see that, overcome that, you can then move forward, continue with your goal. It's when you go, and if you don't expect that, if you don't anticipate it, then it's kind of like, well, then I'm a failure, and you quit on your goal.
Right.
And so, that's part of it.
I think for me, though, even stepping back from that, is it has to mean something to me.
Yeah.
It has to be like really something that is meaningful to me.
And where
for years, health wasn't meaningful to me.
Mm-hmm.
I was mired in kind of randomness of the day and surviving and doing, I didn't really have goals.
Mm-hmm.
But having that overarching goal for the past 4 years, those 3 items, I mean, I come back to that all the time. My wife and I talk about future and different things, and I'm like, well, how does it fit into this? Because this is what I'm operating on. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, I wish I had those things when I was 20.
Well,
I probably would have organized my life a little bit differently, and then, maybe better off.
And that's
maybe healthier for longer periods of time, maybe financially better off, maybe spiritually better off, right? But
sure.
Those were things that it has to be important to you.
And it takes time, though.
Then you won't do it.
And that's my point. It takes time to have those. Think about this. You wouldn't have had this insight 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
Oh, no.
And so therefore it makes, again, you've got to have that failure to lead you to the drive.
Yeah.
And so therefore you're right. At the end of the day, it's got to mean something, and you've got to have that strong desire. And we can all, well, I'd like to eat a lot more healthy. Well, I'd like to eat less junk food. I'd like to exercise more. Okay, fair point. That's a nice goal,
Yeah.
but how dedicated are you to that?
And I still think that there's a lot of activities and things that require accountability.
Mm-hmm.
I go to the gym. I pay for the gym. I actually go this time. Lots of parts of my life I paid for a gym and never went.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure they loved it until I quit. Right. But, now I go and I have certain activities I do. But I go because somebody else goes.
Yeah.
And, when that somebody else says they're not going, I tend to not go.
Uh-huh.
And so,
Uh-huh.
that other person is more disciplined than me. So they probably go even when I say I'm not going to be there. But
Yeah.
I don't think I would go. I don't think I would have done it. I mean, I might now because I've been doing it for long enough. But with anything, if you're not doing it for 2 or 3 weeks in a row, you're not going to create a habit.
Mm-hmm.
So if you let this thing die off in week 1, you're done.
And that's part. Yes.
You've got to try.
Well,
And you've got to persevere through the first few weeks of it.
and part of what makes a success is giving yourself A, small rewards,
Yeah.
and B, setting small achievable goals.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to say, okay, I'm going to lose 20 pounds this week or this year. Okay, that's good. But okay, what are you going to do that? Having that plan. And then, okay, by the end of the first month, I am going to have lost 3 pounds. That's a small goal. That is achievable goal. And you will feel success when you do that. And that kind of inspires more success. If you say, I'm going to lose 20 pounds, but you don't have a plan on how to do that, then you're kind of setting yourself up for failure. But having small, measurable, achievable goals, exercising, okay, I've got a gym membership. I'm going to make sure that I go at least twice a week.
Right.
And I'm, boom, there you go. That's now, if you say, well, I'm going to go to the gym every single day. Well, that's kind of unachievable.
Yeah.
And it's unrealistic. So sometimes.
See, losing weight is a result of something else, though. So you have to change your eating habits. You have to change your physical activity.
Sure.
Right. You've got to change those things. And I think focusing on that is easier than saying I'm going to lose 3 pounds.
Well, but again, we all want to get healthier. And however you do that, having a plan makes that having a specific plan in which we are going to execute a little change here, a little change here, a little change here, then fits into exactly what you're just saying. It's not about when we have a broad goal. Well, that's great, but a broad goal works when we have small, specific plans on how we're going to
But if I
that.
change my eating habits, if I buy fresh food and make a meal fresh, and I do that for a week, and then I find that I lost a pound, that's success, right? And then you could say, oh, so this is what I need to do.
And that exactly.
Right? That's what I need to do.
Yes.
And then it becomes easier to then say, well, I'm going to try to lose 3 pounds because I know what I need to do to make that happen. And I like it, right? I'm making food that I like, and for me, that's been a lot of spicy, good tasting food, right? And it's not a lot of work.
No,
not nearly as much work as I thought it was. And I use a lot of that to for my lunches. So I just make enough to have leftovers, and that's what I eat for lunch. And it's cheaper. And it's cheaper than I thought it was to buy all those things. So
my stepdaughter has been doing that for better part of a year, and she's done amazing with her ability to stick to all of that. So, but New Year's resolutions, yay for those that can do it. You and I are of the same mind that, well, we ain't going to wait till New Year's to start something. We started a while back and has been positive, but hey.
I mean, if you haven't done it, this is a good time to reflect, but you got to do the reflection first and then think about, And don't try to do 6 things, right? Like, what is the one thing you can change? What's the
Mhm.
positive change you can make? Don't focus on the what I'm going to get rid of.
Mm-hmm.
Focus on the what I'm going to do that's new.
And if you can have support from others, your accountability partner, if you can create a reward system for yourself and cut yourself a little slack and have compassion, you can be successful in your goals.
Awesome.
So
It's going to be a great year.
it is. I'm excited about what this new year will have for us. So until next time, I'm Rod.
I'm Scott.
See ya.
Bye-bye.